It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
With Jimmy and Sean, sell pills for your dome. Make a fantastic song. Make a fantastic song.
And we are live.
What's up, you guys?
I like
Sean
that.
Ross
That's a
Sapp.
good new intro.
What's the point of me doing the intro? You're just gonna interrupt me.
Video does a much better job.
Yeah.
And that was a good job. Who did that one? Riley upstairs did
I think
that
it was
one.
Riley. He may have had help from Derek too,
Good
but I think
for
it was
them.
mostly Riley.
That's a good job. Good for
Yeah, he
those
was
guys.
learning new skills and stuff to do it. He did great.
Awesome.
It was really good. We had that up early for Fightful Select subscribers. Had to make use of that Trevor Strong song.
Riley is also, I must say, he is a champion food challenge guy.
Ooh.
Because I think he's 2 for 2.
Oh, really?
I think he might be 2 for 2.
He did the fries and something else.
He did something at the ball game.
Yeah.
So,
Good on you, Riley.
yeah.
Well, he's still batting 1,000 because he did well with that video clip in my book. So.
He did, yeah. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. It's been a crazy week. I had a little bit of time off after Christmas in between the holidays, and then, boy, did it pick right back up with Wrestle Kingdom and Impact and NWA stuff, and now All Elite.
Yeah. I was in Vegas. I didn't get back until yesterday. And so I missed a lot of the stuff, but Sean always hits me up every day, gives me a heads up of what's going on. So I haven't seen Wrestle Kingdom yet. Was it good?
Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't like out of this world, unbelievable, crazy stuff, but yeah.
I heard a lot of the match times were shorter this time.
They were significantly, which now they got the 2-day thing going next year. I don't know if it'll be 2 days of Wrestle Kingdom if they're going to do the Dash at Tokyo Dome, but
Right.
hey.
How was the Dash attendance?
It's pretty good. I mean, it's a way smaller venue.
But could it warrant the move and they would do decent attendance?
Well, that's a hot ticket, too. New Year's Dash is a really, really hot ticket. And considering that, I mean, you had Tai Chi, who I don't really give a shit about. He didn't get on the show. There were a lot of people that were on the pre-show, like Suzuki and Hiroki Goto that are typically on the main card. If you do that, you extend the match times and you split it up into 2 nights, and it is a 2-night Wrestle Kingdom deal, I think they'll be fine.
I am contemplating going to Japan for those shows next year.
Oh, really?
Thinking about it because I'll be honest with you, I saw Ryzen had Mayweather, even though it was a travesty of a fight. Ryzen had Mayweather and then Wrestle Kingdom, and I thought to myself, I kind of wish I had gone this year.
Really?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot on the Wrestle Kingdom show that I thought, man, I just needed to see that live. I just needed to see that in person.
Just the spectacle of it all.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind. Hell, maybe you and me will go, Sean.
Hey, I'm down for it.
Maybe. We'll see. I also want to put over James Lynch real quick. Anybody that doesn't visit our MMA section, we have a guy named James Lynch does a lot of our videos. And because we're a crossover site, he always makes a point of asking MMA talent about pro wrestling. And he interviewed a guy you all know, Jack Swagger, who's going to be fighting in a couple of weeks for Bellator. He asked him about pro wrestling. That was such an entertaining interview because Jack Swagger was like,
They'll see it today. It's on today's show.
Oh, it's on today's show. Okay, well then there you go. I didn't know that you had it planned out, so I'll save it for you. But that was he was the perfect guy to ask about pro wrestling because he still follows it.
Yeah, I sent Melissa a clip from my Jay White making a finisher thing because he had a good showing. He beat Okada last week. I was like, oh, we'll run it. And then I saw where James interviewed Jack Swagger, and I think it was at like 1 or 2 in the morning last night. I messaged Melissa and literally said, fuck that clip, we're using this.
That was good.
And it is good stuff. He kind of revealed a little minor scoop ski about R-Truth, maybe playing him out. We'll talk about that later, but I like that. You all never know what we're going to have on the MMA side because under the radar, he interviewed Eric Spicely, a UFC veteran too, who talked about the tryouts. Like a lot of people didn't know Lacey Evans helps run those tryouts because of her Marine experience. Said that she was there yelling at people who were like taking a rest on the ring and all kinds of stuff. A lot of good insight there. Subscribe to that MMA channel, guys. We're really pushing towards 1,000. It's youtube.com/Fightful MMA Boxing.
There you go. And I got to apologize. I'm a little bit under the weather. So if I cough on the air, it is what it is today.
You get sick all the time, Jimmy.
It's because I have children, man.
Is it because
And this office is a breeding ground for For
bacteria.
If one
I was
person
gonna
gets
s-
sick, we all get sick.
Yeah.
Is it because you're commingling with the plebs there at the office? At the 2323?
You know what, man? The coach doesn't congregate with the players.
Oh, wow.
But
wow.
This is why you don't follow me on Twitter, Jimmy.
I learned that a long time ago, man.
Do
You got to keep
still
some
not
separation.
follow Melissa on Twitter?
It's not intentional. I don't really follow anybody. It's not intentional, you know.
Follow me.
Follow the
I
important
follow
people.
you because, like, well, I guess I should follow Melissa because she does work for me. But I told you that, like, James Ellsworth's guy said follow me, and I basically said I'm not a follower.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't work for not just work for us, work directly for you.
That's fair.
When people like say, "Oh, who are
Are you
your
all right
bosses?"
there, girl? You okay? All right.
When people say, "Who are your bosses?" I include Melissa in that. To me, anybody who works at that office, I consider above me. And
Melissa, you
don't
hear
even-
that?
Oh, I already knew I was his boss.
I mean,
Oh.
yeah. Oh, wow.
Is that why you put her over?
No, I mean,
Was that the
it's
reason?
realistic?
Did
And,
you lay down for her, Sean?
I mean, let's be honest. She's not going to beat me in a shoot. She's not going to beat me in a thumb wrestling match. It's not happening. But
I
let's,
have the
Wow.
mute button, Sean. Don't make me use it.
let's look at some of the people that you follow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Justin Roberts.
Yeah.
your friend,
Yep.
Showdown Joe.
Yep.
Fightful. Trig Tent. The Edmonton Oilers and OilersNation.com.
Yes, I do.
Anna Bauert,
Yep.
who seems to be doing very well, by the way. David Tees. Fightful MMA. Fightful Wrestling. Brandon Howard. Who is Ryan Rishog?
Ryan Rashog, he works for TSN. He's an Oilers analyst.
And James Lynch. Now, see, I used to be like that. I used
Yeah.
to like only want to follow, but not 14 people. It was like 200. Now I'm way more relaxed with it, and I'm like, whatever. It's a lot more.
The
but
problem is that, like, your newsfeed gets so clogged up, you're going to miss the good stuff, no?
I follow 800 people, and I don't really miss anything.
No?
Because if anything's good enough, more than one person's talking about it.
I guess that's fair. Because I don't check my newsfeed all day long. So when I have time to do it, I don't want it to get clogged up.
How are you gonna miss all the hot tampon scoops? if you
Oh, we're
wanna
going to
follow?
talk about it, Sean.
We should talk about
We're going to talk about it because my wife actually asked me about it last night, and I told her it will be on the podcast today. That's
Well,
what I told
Melissa
her.
said we got 600 new Facebook likes. Where did that come from? And I said,
800.
800. There you go. I
We'll get there.
reposted the clip. 300,000 views. Hey,
crazy.
follow us on Facebook, guys.
We're going to get there. Let's start with All Elite Wrestling. This is probably the story of the week. Might be the story of the year. So they had their rally in Jacksonville yesterday, and we knew going in that Cody and the Bucks and Hangman Page and SoCal Uncensored were involved. We knew that.
Yes.
They made it official at the rally. MJF is involved, Joey Janelle and Penelope Ford, Pac, a.k.a. Neville, which is a big one,
one.
and Chris Jericho, which is just a real coup for them. Getting Jericho was a coup for them. It was already kind of speculated because of rumors about him and Jim Ross. And he's going to be a great get for them because I guarantee you, Sean, when they talk to these television networks, even if the television guys are familiar with pro wrestling, they probably don't know who the Young Bucks are unless they're hardcore wrestling fans. They're going to know Chris Jericho.
That's
And so,
very true.
So he's a coup for them. So props to them on that. They announced a women's division. They announced a partnership with OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment in China, which makes sense because that's one of those big markets everybody's been trying to figure out how to monetize. And so getting involved with them, I think, is a pretty smart idea. Billy Gunn's going to be a producer.
That's a good idea.
Now, Brandy, I'm going to reserve judgment on how she does as the chief brand officer. And it's funny because I actually had somebody on Twitter, because I made a comment, somebody said to me, what do you think is Brandy as the chief brand officer? And I said, well, she's not really qualified, but I'm going to wait and reserve judgment. Somebody, because everybody on social media thinks they know everything, so somebody hit me up and said, she's got a master's degree, she's qualified. And I had to respond to them and say, I have people applying for entry-level positions with master's degrees like on the regular,
Yeah.
so that does not qualify her. But at the same time, I'm not going to say she's not qualified until I see her in the position. I did think that she made a mistake at the show saying equal pay, because anybody watching that knew Britt Baker's not going to make what Chris Jericho makes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's open for interpretation.
Well, she
especially in
clarified it.
wrestling. Yeah, she did clarify, as
Yeah.
she should have. But
Yeah.
I will say, Britt Baker money in pro wrestling is going to be a thing, because let's not forget, she's working full time as a dentist right now too. And
She is, but this is a passion, right? This is a passion.
What, pro wrestling?
So, yeah.
For right now, I did an interview with her a couple months ago. She said right now she wants wrestling to be her job.
Sure.
She can be a dentist, but I mean, you got to remember, dentists in America make like 6 figures.
Oh, sure, of course they do, but she understands, like, I'm still young, and it's a passion. A lot of people, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. So, you know, when I had my old wrestling website, and back in like 98, when I started making full-time money, and I quit my full-time job to focus on the website, my boss at that company, you know what he said?
What?
He said, I get it. You're going to go join the circus. That was his terminology.
Oh.
You're going to go join the circus. You'll be calling me in 6 months. And I said, dude, in 6 months, you'll be fucking calling me.
Wow.
Because I don't like when people talk to me like that.
Of course.
No.
But that was his way of looking at it. You're young, so you want to go join the circus.
Have you ever told the story?
Which one is
the
that?
original story of someone in this business saying that to you, and then you're like, yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. I don't recall the story you're talking about.
2016, before you got in touch with me, the person who said, quote unquote,
Oh yeah. He said you
I
can't.
don't know this story.
He said you can't afford me. Never say that to me. Never.
Oh man.
Yeah, he works for a major wrestling site. He's considered one of the insiders in the business. And he got on the call with me when I was looking to hire someone, and he said, you can't afford me. Oh, never say that to me. And so I was not interested in him whatsoever. But things have worked out pretty good with Sean Ross Sapp, so
Yeah. Hey,
I can't complain.
I work at a discount, we'll say.
Oh,
now.
cute. Anyway, so back to AEW. So they announced their first show, All In 2, Double or Nothing. Let me tell you, man, you can say whatever you want about AEW is going to succeed because they have decent talent. Say whatever you want about that. Talent has nothing to do with anything. In order to succeed as a new wrestling promotion, you need funding. That's what you need.
Yeah.
And they have got serious funding. And when they announced that their first show, Double or Nothing, All In 2, May 25, at the MGM Grand, Sean, that is a major venue that WWE doesn't even touch. And I understand that, you know, T-Mobile now is taking a lot of the big fights. And
Yeah.
so there's more availability at the MGM Grand than there was, say, 2 years ago. That is still a major venue. That is an expensive venue. That is a venue that Cody and the Young Bucks would not be doing on their own. No chance they would be doing that on their own. And boy, that's a major league place for them to run, and that's making a statement as far as I'm concerned.
I think it is too. I really like it. I think that they're doing a lot of the right things. They're saying a lot of the right things. The OWE relationship. Now, I talked about the All Elite stuff for about 30 minutes on a breaking news pod yesterday, but I think that is akin to WCW bringing cruiserweights from Mexico in. It is talent that has been exposed to another piece of the world, but not all that talent has been exposed to this part of the world.
Right.
They have a little bit of an established following somewhere. I love the Britt Baker signing. I love the Janela and Penelope signings. I don't know if they faked a breakup on social media to kayfabe this, but if they did, kudos to them.
Wasn't WWE looking at her?
They had her at a tryout, the one with Eric Spicely, actually.
Yeah.
Neville is a huge signing. MJF is a great signing because they needed heels.
He looks like The Miz and EC3 had a baby.
Yeah, you could do a lot
I
worse
was looking
than that, couldn't
I
you?
was looking at him at the rally, and I was like, my God, The Miz conceived a child with EC3, and it became MJF.
Yeah, over on our resources section, if you all go to FightfulWrestling.com, we are going to keep an ongoing list of the roster, and a lot of good names. I think they need to diversify a little bit. You got the OWE guys, but you don't want a roster full of just white guys who look and wrestle the same, quite frankly. You need to diversify your roster a little bit. I love Billy Gunn as an agent.
Yep.
I think that's really good. His son, a lot of people assumed his son would sign, but his son is saying on Instagram that he's signing somewhere and not AEW. So,
I mean, that'd be hard for Billy Gunn to kind of produce your own kid, although they're going to have more than one producer.
yeah,
But,
of course they will. BJ Whitmer's in with the company.
Oh, that's right, because they had said that before. Yeah.
So when I look at things and I'm like, okay, well, that's good. I already have some people that I have as contacts, not necessarily insiders, but I've interviewed Christopher Daniels. I've interviewed Kazarian.
Right.
Interviewed Hangman Page 100 times. Janela, MJF, Britt Baker. Britt Baker contacted me in November for an interview.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that there are people here that we already have a good rapport with. I'm not going to fucking cheerlead it like some people are. That makes me uncomfortable, but
I will say this much, and I don't want to talk shit about anybody. I saw Alex Marvez in an AWE shirt at the rally. And anybody that knows Alex Marvez, he's a wrestling journalist, and I think he was most recently writing for the Miami Herald. I could be wrong, but I think he was. He used to work for the Observer. I don't know if he is no longer going to be a wrestling journalist, if he is now an employee of AWE. I assume that's probably the case, but when I saw him standing up there knowing he's a wrestling journalist, I thought to myself, you cannot be a nonpartisan wrestling journalist when you're standing up there with an AWE shirt on. Correct. So I assume that he is shifting over to become an employee. Conrad Thompson, I don't mind because he was never a journalist. He's just a podcast guy.
He's a podcast guy. He's running StarCast. He's connected with that. He has a vested interest. Yeah. Good on him. StarCast too. That's good. We're going to talk to a lot of people ahead of that as well.
Now I'm going to say again what I said before, and I talked to Sean a little bit about this off the air. If it was me, I realize Tony Khan is not a wrestling guy. I've seen the old tweets that you showed, Sean, about him talking about Shelton Benjamin like 7 years ago, because he's a big wrestling fan going back a lot of years. He's a wrestling fan and he's got money. He's not a wrestling guy. So I understand that he needs to surround himself with wrestling people. If it was me, I would not hire active talent to be executives. That's just me. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm not going to immediately, instantly shit on it because they have active talent in executive positions. You got to wait and see the final product. I wouldn't do it, but I guess we'll see what happens.
As far as the Marvez thing, as Pro Wrestling Unlimited pointed out, it's rumored that he's going to be an announcer for the company. So. And
does he have experience with that?
Not sure, but I mean, considering some of the alternatives, I don't think it's too bad. There are a couple of guys. I think they should have looked at Todd Kinley. I think they should have looked at Tyler Valls. I think they should have looked at those two guys, especially because they couldn't announce JR. He's under a WWE contract,
right?
So,
but it's all assumed.
Yeah, a lot of people expected Kenny Omega to be announced. He's under New Japan contract. He can't be announced as of yet either. Did you see where a bookie was taking bets on Kenny Omega being in the Final Four of the Rumble? And I'm like, can I get
that same UK website?
It's like OddsShark. And I was like, can I get a prop bet for him not being in the Rumble at all? Because
what are the odds?
Like, I think it's plus. I'd have to look, but I think it's like plus 1,500 or something like that.
That he is or isn't?
That he is.
That he is?
That he
is
is.
Final Four in the Rumble?
Yeah.
Let's put down 10 grand on it. How can we get in on that? Can I get in on that as a Canadian?
Look. Let's see. Well, go ahead and
see if you can hook that up. See if you can hook that up
right now.
Put 10 grand on it, Sean.
10 grand. Okay. Well, you're going to need to do that because I'm not rocking with that in my bank account.
Because he's not thrifty.
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it.
Maybe when I get that Britt Baker money.
Cute. All right. Well, you know what? I will say this. I've seen a lot of stuff online about this whole AEW thing, and it's very similar to a lot of other situations. WWE fans shit on it, and people that are, say, fans of Ring of Honor or the Young Bucks or Cody Rhodes, they're praising it like the second coming of something massive. I stay kind of down the middle on the whole thing. I think that this is good for wrestling, like we talked about. There's going to be more guaranteed contracts available than ever before. There's going to be more guys that are going to have to hustle less to make a living. I also am hoping that this is going to be the shot in the arm that WWE needs, because creatively they were at their best when they had WCW breathing down their neck. And I feel like there's been no sense of urgency. There's been, I don't know if lack of passion, but there's been no sense of urgency with Vince McMahon for 15 years.
Yeah, so. I would agree. And I had somebody in the Q&A on Fightful Select say, what do you think this will do? Do you think this will encourage Vince McMahon to step down or double down? And I said, probably double down.
Oh, he's not going to step down. No chance. Yeah. No chance.
The Omega odds are plus 1,200, which is the same as Lesnar, Bryan, Wyatt, Lashley, Batista, Adam Cole.
Whoa. Batista is a plus on being a Final Four?
Yeah, that's an underdog. That is you bet.
Oh, I was thinking the other way.
Either way, the fact that he's listed.
Yeah, who else is listed?
I'll tell you who's listed underneath all of them.
Yeah.
Jinder Mahal, EC3, Big E, Baron Corbin, Aleister Black, Nakamura, Michaels, Jeff Hardy, Angle.
Whoa, Michaels? Michaels is on that list?
Yes, all those are listed as longer odds. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shane McMahon, The Undertaker. The longest odds are Titus O'Neil, Shelton Benjamin, Sheamus, and Xavier Woods.
Who's the tightest odds? Like, who's the
They're
favorite?
All plus 2,500.
Who's the favorite?
The favorite is Seth Rollins at minus 1,000. The other, this is in the Final Four. Others that are in the minus, which means they're favored, are Balor, Drew McIntyre. And how about this one? The next is R-Truth at a plus 150. Probably for a comedic aspect, I could see that, but
Yeah, not Final Four though.
But yeah, if they legit take bets on this, I don't know why you wouldn't throw down a shit ton of money anyway.
Well, I would need to make sure that this is a reputable site that's going to pay me.
Yeah, it comes from Bet Online.
Bet Online? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk off the air, Sean. Maybe we're going to do this on behalf of Fightful. We're going to throw some money down.
Yeah, I think we're more likely to get our money from Bet Online than we are a mask from Aerolucha at this point.
So they asked about my T-shirt size.
Oh, did they?
And I was going to keep that all hush-hush and just wear it, but I don't know if I'm ever getting the damn shirt. So they asked for
It was so
my
they can
size.
start production. They haven't.
It takes a day to get a damn shirt printed.
I know it does.
There's
Come on.
the company that makes our shirt is literally called 1 Hour Tees.
There you go.
Yeah.
But clearly Aerolucha is not using them.
Yeah, well, clearly Bellator is using Jack Swagger, also known as Jake Hager. He spoke to James Lynch. Now, this full interview is over on our new MMA and Boxing YouTube, youtube.com/Fightful MMA Boxing. But take a listen to some of his thoughts on pro wrestling, which were pretty entertaining.
I think there will be some WWE guys in attendance, and I think R-Truth, Ron Killings, will be performing at the event for me.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Any of those names you can reveal that might be showing up? Any news we can break here on the interview?
And you're just gonna have to tune in and find out.
There you go. That's what we call a teaser in this business, right? So it's good. I like that. So are you still watching pro wrestling like WWE, Impact? Are you still keeping an eye on what's going on?
I'm not like current on storylines, but like I know the injuries and who's out there right now. I saw that Crown Jewel tag team match between Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Undertaker and Kane.
All right, fair enough. I want to get your take on that. What about Becky Lynch? She's really blown up this last little bit. Have you been paying attention to her and what she's been accomplishing?
Yep, running both divisions. I'm not sure she still has the title in both, but like it's very cool. That's a cool thing about pro wrestling, how someone just explodes like that, and all of a sudden there's electricity with everything that they touch. And you know, Becky is one of those dream stories. She's been a wrestling fan all her life. Quit her job at an airline to come and try her hand at it, and it's amazing to see the success, see the passion, and you know, who doesn't like an accent?
And her rival, Ronda Rousey, came from MMA to WWE. What were your thoughts on her transition and what she's been able to accomplish?
Yeah, great, man, great. I find that people with a background and some kind of discipline transition very well into pro wrestling. Very similar techniques, very similar mindsets, and how you train and how you prepare for the shows. So it wasn't a surprise to me that she has like transitioned and done it very quickly, I would say. And, you know, you just need a little bit of something for them to push and market, and you're a star.
Who was your favorite pro wrestler growing up?
Growing up, you know, guys like Danny Hodge and Dr. Death, Steve Williams were household names. So those were my favorite. And then in the Monday Night Wars, you know, I was a big Kevin Nash guy. That was really when I first started watching. Like junior high and whatnot. And then, of course, you know, all-time Kurt Angle. Everything he does is just realistic. The counters are so tight, so crisp. It just makes wrestling entertaining and fun to watch.
That full interview up on the MMA and Boxing channel. I love stuff like that. Dare I say that the first time you gave me a phone call, and I was fielding some offers here and there, and you said crossover site, MMA, pro wrestling, boxing. You couldn't see it, but my eyes lit up on the other phone. This type of stuff is what I had in mind too. I love that. There is such a marriage between the two.
There is.
And when James Lynch said, "Hey, I got Jake Hager," I was like, "You get it. You get it." Even he doesn't even follow wrestling, and he gets it.
He doesn't follow wrestling, but he knows what we do, and so he always asks the wrestling questions, which is really cool.
How funny is it that James Lynch, probably never watched pro wrestling, gets more pro wrestling scoops than a significant percentage of the people who cover it?
That's because they're all aggregators. That's what I told you. That's what I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Let me ask you this. So the SmackDown taping this week, Initially, people wearing AEW shirts trying to buy tickets were turned away. What's the story on that? I know that they changed their mindset on that as the night went on, but what was the story?
Boy, was this a mess. So initially, the first person who had reported this was, quite frankly, the penis druid that I interviewed months ago from Pro Wrestling Tees. Now, this led a lot of people to suggest, oh, well, they've got a vested interest in AEW. If they do well, then it's all a ploy. Now, if it was, it would have been a smart one. However, that's not really how we rock here. We don't just take quite frankly, the word of one fan. I waited. I reached out to several other people. There were rumors that it was from rowdy crowds. Not these people that I was talking to. Not the mild-mannered people that I have known for a long time who experienced a similar thing. I talked to no less than 6 people who experienced this as well. Security was later filmed confirming this news, and then eventually they were let in. I reached out to WWE, who said, people in AEW shirts are being let in. They didn't say they were denied entry. They didn't comment on any of the things that happened before, only that they were being granted entry. People on the hard camera side were given WWE shirts to wear over top of it. I mean, I had people literally accusing the security guard of being a crisis actor, Jimmy.
Right. Right.
I wish Nigel was here for this.
Yeah.
So he could break down some of the conspiracy stuff here.
Ooh.
It's wild, man. The lengths that some people will go to cape for a company that really doesn't give a shit about that.
So let me tell you. So first off, this had to have been a WWE directive at some level. I'm sure it wasn't Vince McMahon telling Hunter, hey, I want you to tell security don't let them in. It was probably somebody that works on the road crew or something. But there was clearly a WWE directive to not let those people in. Then the other thing that happened was the Forever TV intro. They took Chris Jericho out of that intro?
Pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. By the time SmackDown aired, he was out?
I get the feeling that Vince McMahon probably was informed of this decision, though, of him to sign.
Sure. I bet you Jericho let him know in advance, because he always tends to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So let me tell you this, man. So one thing Vince Russo used to always say, and a lot of people shit on Vince Russo when it comes to creative, but one thing I agree with him on that he used to always say, he said, when you're number one, you don't even acknowledge number two, right? You don't even acknowledge their existence. When you're the guy underneath, you do whatever you can to go after number one. And I fully believe that. And so WWE, AEW is not even an entity as of yet. Sure, they have major funding. They're going to run a major venue in May. They picked up a guy like Chris Jericho. They're nothing. Why would you put them on your radar or let everybody know they're on your radar by not allowing them the shirts, by making them wear WWE shirts on hard camera, by taking Chris Jericho out of the Forever promo? Why would you do that stuff? You should just make like they're not even there and just go about your business.
They did the same thing in different circumstances with the cease and desist, which, quite frankly, if I were the Young Bucks, and I've never seen the cease and desist, I've seen a cease and desist.
I've seen several.
I've seen several of those, but not the. That sold so many shirts for these guys.
Yes.
The people who accused Young Bucks of relying on old NWO tropes and DX tropes and Too Sweet, that sold them so many shirts because they were paid attention to. For all I know, and this is just me recklessly speculating, if I were the Young Bucks, I would have been like, yeah, they sent us a C&D. Wink, wink. And really, that's how you create a groundswell. It's how you create...
This would have been a non-story at the SmackDown taping. So what if people watching at home might have seen a few AEW shirts on the hard camera? It would have been a non-story if they had just done nothing. But because they went and did this stupid shit, it became a story. And the whole Forever video intro, someone's always going to catch that stuff, Sean.
I like John Baez's comment. Fickle.
Right.
Fickle.
Right. I just don't understand it. You're the top of the food chain, and you are so far ahead of everybody else on that food chain. Why should you give a shit about not letting people wear it? It's just so silly and whatever. Let me ask you about this one. So Dave Meltzer reports that New Japan is expected to maintain their partnership with Ring of Honor instead of partnering with AEW, at least in the short term, because we don't know a year from now what could happen. But at
4
least
months from now.
Sorry?
4 months from now, even.
Yeah, exactly. Now Meltzer said that because AEW didn't get the New Japan deal, that could cost them Kenny Omega's services. I personally don't understand that logic, because whether he was to go to WWE or AEW under the circumstances is the same. Neither one of them have a New Japan deal. So how does that make a difference whether or not New Japan is involved for him to choose AEW over WWE?
Well, if he went to AEW, they would get to use him.
Who would get to use him?
New Japan. The AEW guys want to work New Japan.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is what Meltzer said was because AEW did not get the New Japan partnership, that may have cost AEW Kenny Omega.
No, I think they said that might have cost New Japan.
Oh, is that what he meant? It might have cost New Japan Kenny Omega.
Yes.
Ah, okay. I misunderstood.
Because he's likely to go with his buddies.
Okay.
And for now, I mean, why would you say, or why would you tell AEW, yeah, we're going to abandon these guys who helped us sell out Madison Square Garden, even though, let's be honest, Madison Square Garden was sold out under the pretenses that a lot of these guys would be wrestling on that show. If I look at AEW right now, they have a way better, more top-heavy roster than Ring of Honor.
Right.
How many of the Ring of Honor guys do you need? I like Beer City Bruiser. Do you know who Beer City Bruiser is, Jimmy?
I know of him, but...
Okay. Melissa, do you know who
No.
Kenny King is?
No.
Do you know who Chris Jericho is?
Yes.
Exactly.
Ask her if she knows who... Do you know who Kenny Omega is?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good.
Young Bucks. So people at least... There's more to work with AEW, even from a talent perspective at this point.
Right.
But the infrastructure, the television right now, all those things from a business perspective, Ring of Honor has a real handle on. Also, they have a show already sold out at Madison Square Garden. We'll see how it works out in Las Vegas, because I caught some flack early on when Ring of Honor and New Japan announced MSG. I said, don't see it as that big of a deal because they didn't sell it out at that point. When they sold it out, I said, that's a big deal. And I don't care what the building is. It could have been the Turd Springs in Manhattan for all I care. If it's
Is that a new venue, the Turd Springs?
Yeah, it probably will be. If they sold 15,000 seats in the Turd Springs in Manhattan, I would have been just as impressed, because that's 15,000 people paying to see your show. Now you have All In looking for, what, 15, 16,000? Or All Elite looking for 15, 16,000 in Vegas, not on WrestleMania weekend?
Yeah.
I think if they are able to do that, New Japan has to take a long look at this and say, all right, we got Madison Square Garden filled up WrestleMania weekend. These guys got it without TV in Vegas across the country. Not a traditional wrestling city is Vegas.
No, but it's cheaper than Chicago.
That's true.
You know, because Chicago, they had so many people fly in for that show. Vegas is way cheaper than Chicago.
Yes, it is way cheaper. I'm considering covering that event live.
Oh yeah,
considering, or
maybe
at least
maybe you and I'll go, Sean. I'd go to Vegas for that.
There we go. Maybe we'll do that. We could do our live post-show podcast from there.
Yeah,
I think that could be fun.
That could happen.
Don't miss your flight.
Yeah, well, that is not a guarantee. We'll talk about that.
Let me ask you this. So Meltzer reported that Kenny Omega was given a, quote, fantastic offer by WWE. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes.
And what have you heard?
Lots of money. Obviously, very, very, very big money.
What kind of money?
I mean, I haven't heard a dollar amount. I've heard in the millions
Okay,
area.
so Forbes reported last year, and I think it was for 2017, they reported that I think Roman Reigns was the highest paid regular on the roster, and I believe they said he made $2.9 million. But you got to understand that a lot of that is not guaranteed. A lot of that is from residuals from live events and all that stuff. Do you know if Kenny Omega would be willing to work a full-time schedule? Because if not, in order for him to make that kind of money, obviously they'd be giving him a higher downside, and I could see that having a negative trickle effect on the rest of the locker room.
All of this is going to have a trickle effect on the locker room. This will do more than the Saudi Arabia money or the TV deals did, because now WWE is handcuffed, in a sense, into paying their guys more and offering people more, because they have real competition offering them more. Not just real competition there. You have Sinclair Broadcast Group, who I don't expect to lie down.
Right.
They're going to be offering money too. Kenny Omega last year worked 60 matches.
How many did AJ Styles work in 2018? Can you find that real quick?
Oh boy, yeah,
because
I can.
Styles to me is he's the fair comparison when you want to look at bringing in an Omega, And AJ had a really good year. He was on the Forbes list too. He made over $2 million, but he worked his ass off in 2018.
Yeah, and he's looking for increased money for less dates.
Right.
AJ Styles worked 145 matches. Now that's not dates.
Right. Exactly. He's probably on the road 250 days last year.
Yeah, because
So
I mean,
he worked for that two whatever he made, $2+ million. He worked for that.
Oh yeah, and not to mention, we say 145 dates, but you got to remember that stretch between Christmas and New Year where WWE goes wild. He worked 5 or 6 matches in that period alone.
Right.
So yeah, lots of stuff, man.
We'll see what
lots
happens.
of parts.
Also,
Also,
what happens.
I'll bring this back to Britt Baker money. You know that some of these women in the WWE roster who have been there and have seen AJ Lee tweet Stephanie McMahon and say, "Hey, what about our pay?" Especially as I mentioned last night on SmackDown, it's no longer a novelty. The women are main eventing SmackDown.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a normal thing.
Yep.
They're going to be on there. They're going to have good matches. If you are a woman in WWE and you're looking and you see it's kind of slim pickings for AEW and Ring of Honor and all these other people, you're going to say, you know what? Let me go get that Britt Baker money. I'm not going to have to work as much. I'll be more creatively free. I'll let my personality shine more.
I mean, look at Bayley.
Yeah.
Bayley was somebody who was such a hot property in NXT, and they've watered her down to almost nothing in WWE. The only thing that WWE has going for them, and we've seen it in a lot of cases, is a lot of the talent in WWE grew up as WWE fans, and they considered it their objective in their career to make it to WWE. And Bayley is an example. Bayley was a longtime WWE fan.
Yeah.
Who knows at this point if she's now on the fence where she's thinking, well, I want to get paid. I've done WWE and I want to get paid. That could be, you know. So, but things are changing, man. So now, now with New Japan having a lot of their top guys leave, Ring of Honor had some of their top guys leave. Everybody's hustling now, and it was announced that Chase Owens, member of the Bullet Club, he's re-signed with New Japan for 1 year. Rocky Romero has re-signed a multi-year deal. Juice Robinson for 3 years. And then on top of, because we're going to have this whole talent thing, and remember we talked a few weeks ago, Dave Meltzer said that WWE was allegedly blatantly going after contracted talent and other promotions.
Yeah.
So Court Bauer on December 14th posted this on Twitter. You have that, Melissa?
Yep.
He said, 2 attempted raids in 2 days as we head into tonight's MLW Fusion Live on BN Sports. Wish we could all work together. And then at the very bottom, he put #honor, which kind of made it clear who he was talking about. PW Insider reported recently that one of those talents was Harry Smith, a.k.a. David Boy Smith Jr., and to his credit, he decided to re-up with MLW and sign a new deal with them. But this is going to happen more and more and more as these promotions clamor for this talent. That's why I said it's a great time to be a pro wrestler. Best time it's been in almost 20 years.
Davey Boy, a guy who a lot of people expected a lot of things out of in WWE, kind of, I don't want to say fell off, but wasn't, not necessarily persona non grata, but wasn't sought after as much. He was sought after over the last month and a half. New Japan still wants to work with him. I mean, he's a big dude. There is nobody like him on the independent circuit right now.
And honestly, with all due respect to him, Harry Smith was not the draw that Davey Boy Smith Jr. is.
Sure.
That's just a fact. And so, but good for him that he's going to get paid, man. Good for him.
I think he's still in his early 30s, too.
Right. All right, let's go to Stupid People, Melissa.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
All right, TrevorStrong.org, thanks for the usage of the stupid song. And after this, go to Fightful Select, where we have 3 more for you. Stupid People Extended. And I got good ones again, man. There are more people doing stupid shit this day and age, so I've always got good ones, Sean. And these are good. So this first one, this is reported by the Washington Post on January 8th. Do you like chicken tenders, Sean?
My wife loves chicken tenders.
Yeah, Melissa, do you like chicken tenders?
I love chicken tenders.
So last weekend there was a car accident in Cherokee County, Alabama, and it involved an 18-wheeler loaded with prepackaged chicken tenders, and it rolled over on a highway. Put up that photo, Melissa.
Sometimes when you start explaining the story, I realize what these photos are.
Yeah, I don't like to tell you in
and
advance.
I get even more confused.
There's some of the aftermath when they're trying to clean up those packages of chicken tenders. So they ended up spilling all over the highway and all over the little ravine there. And 24 hours after that accident, Sean, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office was forced to make a public service announcement. Why do you think the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office had to make a public service announcement?
Were people eating them?
People were pulling out their cars over, getting out, trying to get the packages of chicken tenders.
No!
They were causing traffic jams, and they were causing potential accidents because people were standing in the road trying to get packages of chicken tenders. And this is 24 hours after they had spilled, Sean. In Alabama, it's above zero in Alabama.
All that chicken wanted to do was cross the road.
You were waiting for that.
All you can do is move on from that.
But now it's at a crossroads.
This next one was reported by the BBC on January 5, and you're going to appreciate this, Sean, because of your MMA background and because of the recent John Jones story, Sean. Okay. You're going to appreciate this one, and that's why I included this one. So there's a 90-year-old man named Carl Grove.
Hope I live till 90.
And he recently won the men's 90 to 94 age group sprint race.
Hold on 1 second. Melissa just shook her head when I said, I hope I live till 90. Not
didn't even notice I did that.
Jimmy.
You got to watch that you're on camera now, Melissa.
I don't like this.
You got to watch that.
Rude. Sorry, Jimmy. Please continue.
Okay, so anyway, Mr. Grove, he won the men's 90 to 94 age group sprint race at the U.S. Masters Track National Championships last July. All right? Get that, 90 to 94 age bracket. And Mr. Grove, at 90 years old, won it. Now he's been stripped of that title. Why do you think he's been stripped of that title?
PEDs.
He failed the USADA test.
What did he use?
So, I knew you were going to like this one because it's USADA. So I knew you would like this one. He tested positive for epitrenbolone, which is a metabolite of the banned substance trenbolone. Yeah. Now, keep in mind he's 90. And so he was adamant, Sean, I did not take PEDs because I'm fucking 90. And what happened was he had actually passed an in-competition test on July 10th. The next day he failed a test, and they speculate that between the time that he passed the test and failed the test, he had eaten meat.
Yeah.
And so they think that it was something in the meat. But regardless, USADA failed him, and he was stripped of his U.S. Masters Track National Championships award, or whatever it was.
Damn.
Can you believe that? 90.
If we had USADA, then Melissa never would have beaten me.
You might not have even made it into the match, Sean.
Well, I know Canada's a little more relaxed up there, but there's no way she was passing that in-competition drug test.
I mean, the Ontario Athletics Commission, they're a little strict, Sean.
A little bit.
Well, there we go. Next time I want full drug testing for the rematch.
I used to know the commissioner.
Did you?
Oh,
Ken Hayashi, yeah.
All right, we're doing it.
All right, this last one. This is for the SRS file reported by CBS4 Miami on January 7th. So a 40-year-old man named Wesley Scott, Sean, he was arrested on an outstanding drug warrant. All right? At the time that he was arrested, he was asked if he had any illegal items concealed on him, and he said no. So then he was taken to the Pinellas County Jail, and when they were doing their little inspection, they found 3 syringes inside his rectum. They said to him, what are you doing with those, 3 syringes there in your rectum? What do you think was his answer to police when he was asked about that?
Got to get my vitamins.
He said, they're not mine.
So, I've told you I watch a lot of Investigation Discovery.
Yeah.
It seems like a good 40% of the stories on there are out of Pinellas County, Florida.
Is that right?
I don't know if that series of jails or prisons just grants them more access to information or prisoners for interviews or whatever it may be. But Pinellas County, I am very familiar with that place.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he's now facing charges of introducing contraband into a correctional facility. So, Good for him. Good for him. All right, man. Here's one of the big stories we got to talk about. Priscilla Kelly. Let's talk about Priscilla Kelly.
I love her.
Melissa's already laughing.
I know this story.
So,
AEW needs to sign her tomorrow.
And maybe they will. So some might remember Priscilla Kelly. She was in the Mae Young Classic. She wrestled Deonna Purrazzo in the first round. Back on December 30th, she worked a match against a female wrestler named Tuna, and I will admit I did not know who Tuna was.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of her. Okay, so she wrestled a woman named Tuna. It was on a show promoted by Suburban Fight Pro Wrestling, and it was a 21-plus show at the Hi Hat Club in Los Angeles. One particular spot has gone viral. We have a clip from the match for you. Let's put that up, Melissa.
Yes, get her.
So, a lot of people hated that spot.
300,000 views on our Facebook, man.
Yeah. Oh, it went viral and it got a lot of attention, and a lot of people hated it. People like David Arquette was very critical of it. Gail Kim, who usually defends women's wrestling, very critical of it. They were saying stuff like, "You don't need to do that kind of shit to get over. A good match will get you over." But here's my take on it. How is it any different than what Joey Ryan does? How's it any different?
David Arquette, who got his throat cut by a goddamn bottle. Gail Kim, who...
I mean, he didn't mean to get his throat cut.
Gail Kim, who I respect immensely. But when you're talking about integrity and professionalism, as she and Road Dogg were, Gail Kim, who didn't like her work situation and rolled out of the Battle Royal and then quit her job on the spot.
I mean, first and foremost...
Road Dogg, Jimmy, used to butt-fuck people before his finishing maneuver.
It's true. He did used to do that, yeah. I mean, here's what I think, man. Number one, it was a gimmick tampon. Because Priscilla Kelly actually had to come out and kind of defend herself. It was a gimmick tampon. It was a 21-plus show. And I'm not a fan of this kind of shit. We've talked about it before, like Joey Ryan's thing. I'm not into it. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to say you can't do it just because I don't particularly like it.
Yeah.
I don't see how that spot with her was any different than what Joey Ryan does. Priscilla Kelly, prior to this video going viral, nobody knew who she was. Just because she was in the Mae Young Classic, nobody knew who she was. Over the last week and a half, she's one of the top stories in wrestling.
Exactly.
And so it did what she probably intended for it to do. Would WWE let that happen on a national stage? No. Would Ring of Honor let that happen on a national stage? No. Would Priscilla Kelly want to do that on a national stage? Probably not. But when it's an independent show in front of a 21-plus crowd at a club in LA, I don't see how there's a problem. And so a lot of people that are so critical of it, I just don't understand how it's a big deal.
I agree. I mean,
that's just my take on it.
There are pretty clear pictures of her holding it up that were photographed. And, I mean, let's be mature for once on this show.
No.
That ain't what a used tampon looks like, my friends.
Did you say you do know what a used tampon looks like?
Yeah.
It kind of looked like a murdered mouse or something.
I live with an adult female woman. I know what they look like.
I'm glad you said female woman. Glad you said female woman.
Well, hey, I mean, you never know in this wacky world of pro wrestling. But good for her. She, for better or worse, people know who she is. And people who, like, I saw a lot of people say, she got attention in the wrong way. And I said, jack shit she did. Mm-hmm. She did not, because there are people who have no clue who she was before that now support her. And she's,
or at least know who she is, whether they like her or don't. They know who she is. And like you said, maybe she will get a cut. I mean, look at Joey Janela, right? Joey Janela basically made himself known by killing his body, doing Mick Foley-style stunts, and now he's got an AEW contract.
And he's a successful booker.
Right.
While he's injured, he is selling out 2 nights of a WrestleMania show at really high prices. People like that are, and man, I know, I even said yesterday, gosh, I like, after all the crisis actors and the conspiracy talk about freaking t-shirts, I was ready for somebody to eat a tampon and get things back to normal.
Nice.
For once. Like,
nice. I mean, again,
for Priscilla Kelly.
Yeah, and you're not going to see her live on Raw doing that. You're not. But in that environment, I just don't understand how it was a big deal. And I'm having a coughing fit. Just letting you know.
Yeah, as somebody pointed out in the chat, Mae Young gave birth to a hand. Triple H had sex with a blow-up doll. It was meant to be a corpse.
Right, and he threw stuff at the camera. Remember?
They pulled heads out of people's asses, like all kinds of stuff, all kinds of shit jokes. Yep. So I don't want to. I think when Road Dogg came out and said all that stuff, and I was like, man, you have some balls being a higher up in WWE talking about integrity, and he later apologized. He seems to have better perspective on things these days.
That's good. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble. So this week when Becky Lynch earned a shot at the women's title at the Rumble, initially I thought, man, that's such a missed opportunity. Mm-hmm. But as people have pointed out, and I think you pointed out, there is precedence with people having a singles match at the Rumble and then going on to be in the Rumble match itself. And so I'm going to hope that WWE is not this tone deaf. And that no matter what happens in that match with Asuka, she's going to end up in the Rumble match. Everybody wants to see her win the Rumble and call out Ronda Rousey. If they don't go in that direction, they've clearly lost their minds. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
Got to headline the show with Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch at the very least. You need a mute button.
I don't know how to do it. How do you do it?
I've been muting you in between coughs, but
whenever you see me go like this?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hit her with a hand signal like a. And then all of a sudden,
I've had a cough for like 2 weeks, and you know when you get that tickle, Sean?
Yeah.
Nothing I can do about it.
I mean, I had a very persistent cough that you made me go get checked out, and I found out I have like asthma and seasonal allergies. And
well, I don't have a persistent cough on the regular like you do, but I have it currently. So.
I also have a mute button, but I need to get a new mic.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it.
But yeah, Becky needs to headline WrestleMania. Ronda needs to headline WrestleMania. And if you want to throw Charlotte in there, I'm cool with it too.
I would.
She's on that level.
Yeah,
but I would keep it Ronda and Becky because Ronda has shown her ability to just bring it in singles matches. I can't wait for Sasha Banks versus Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha and Ronda's fine, but I really am stoked for the idea of Becky Lynch and Ronda and just the presence that Becky Lynch has now. You know, we talk sometimes about certain talent. They have a presence like Elias. Elias has a presence. And now you see Becky. You see where she was 2 years ago when she had like the goggles and all that shit. And you see where she is now. Like, she has presence now. And she carries herself like a star. And her and Ronda Rousey, that is the main event match. No one is going to be offended if that match headlines WrestleMania. I think wrestling fans are ready for it. So I hope they go in that direction. Let me ask you about this. So there's been some criticism with the usage of Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman on Raw this week. And how Braun looked like a coward because he stood in the ring doing nothing. It's been reported that he is not yet cleared for contact. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So if that's the case, why would they put him in that position where he looks like a coward?
I don't know.
Couldn't have come up with anything better than to have Braun standing in the ring looking like a coward.
One of the worst planned segments I've ever seen. Like, you had Braun looking like a doofus and Brock looking like a giant pussy.
And you know what kills me too is they have limited dates on Brock. They pay him a shitload of money. How many times have they brought Brock in and all he does is either stand in the ring while Paul Heyman cuts a promo, or he just goes out, circles the ring. You know what I mean? Like they pay him so much for appearance and they don't capitalize on it. And
I think that takes away from him. Like, where I disagree with you about the Rousey thing. I love that she wrestles and how often she wrestles. I think that's cool. For Brock, if he's not going to do anything, just don't have him on the show.
Agreed.
Have the match set and he shows up at Royal Rumble, because that furthers the agenda that he doesn't like the fans a lot more. But
or you know what? Do you remember when they would bring him in sometimes, like for example with Heath Slater? Do you remember that? And I know that they don't want Brock to have a live mic because they're afraid of what he's going to say. But that time with Heath Slater where he called him in the ring and he said, you know what, I can empathize, I have children too. And then he annihilated Heath Slater. If they're going to have Brock there, have him beat, like destroy a mid-card guy to look strong. Have him do something. You know what I mean? But what a waste of time he is. Let me ask you this question. This is, I think, the last thing I got on my list today. Oh, no, I got more things. Hulk Hogan. So it seems like it's a little bit convenient that they brought him on Raw when Mean Gene Okerlund passed away, because you know you're not going to be a lightning rod for controversy, or you're not going to be a heat magnet so much in that setting compared to being on Raw on the regular. That being said, I had no problem with him doing it because him and Mean Gene Okerlund went together so well. They were synonymous with one another for so many years. A lot of people did have a problem with it. What are your thoughts on it, Sean? Boy, he's taking a second to think about this one, Melissa.
Wow.
He's really.
Yeah.
We're going to be
Good
off the
insight,
air by
good
the time he
insight.
responds.
We're going to be off the air. Sorry, I'm processing.
We are out. I'm only kidding, Melissa. Don't do it yet.
So,
Okay,
You
too
know,
much
my-
dead air. Should we move on?
my New Year's resolution, Jimmy,
I
has to
hate all
be
of this. Stop it.
to become more suspenseful.
Let's move on. So Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling is moving to the Pursuit channel, which, when you know, is owned by Anthem Entertainment.
Whoa!
Yeah. And they're also going to stream Impact on Twitch. Now, I understand having to put a positive spin on things. I get it. Especially when you're a corporation, you got to try to put a spin on it. They've issued these press releases talking about, oh, this is a natural move and all this stuff. Let's just be honest. They could not get a television deal. Anthem could not get a television deal for Impact.
Correct.
They were making almost zero money on Pop. They moved to Pursuit because they had no choice. Anthem owns the channel. Pursuit has nothing to do with pro wrestling. Nobody is watching Pursuit. I don't even know what their top show is, but it does nothing. That's why they're moving to Pursuit. It's for no other reason. And then the other thing is, after Dave Meltzer reported that Impact tried to sell, he said they tried to sell to AEW. I don't know if that's a typo or what, but after Dave Meltzer reported that, Ed Nordholm, the president, at the tapings this week, felt the need to address the roster and to tell the roster, we're not looking to sell the company. Now, once again, that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's basically something that he had to say. It's something he had to say.
I had people in Impact saying it was very reminiscent of Dixie Carter. Now, that was interesting because the person who told me that wasn't there when Dixie was, but has heard all the stories. He was feeding them such a line of bullshit. Nobody wants to get on the Pursuit channel. Hunting shows don't want to get on the Pursuit channel. I had somebody in the Q&A ask if I think that Twitch will lead to more viewers. They'll probably get more viewers
Oh, they will.
because of Twitch.
But are they going to make more money? No.
Will they make more money? Maybe with some of the, if you got some generous people who want to tip big,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
But that's a horrible move.
They had no other option in the U.S. That was the only option they have. I really think that Impact is going to be the casualty of AEW.
Yeah, I do too.
Because as that talent comes available and now they have a third option, it's going to be tough for Impact.
You better believe AEW would want a Kiera Hogan, Jordan Grace, and Tessa Blanchard to help kickstart their women's division. Those are three that, man, had they waited just a little bit longer to sign.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long anybody's under contract for, but 2019 is going to be a very challenging year for Impact Wrestling financially.
Yes.
And we saw what happened last year when Anthem took over. They had to cut costs, and that meant cutting the payroll. And this time, if they find themselves in a position where they have to do that again, there are going to be suitors for that talent like that.
Oh, yeah, and I had somebody saying, oh, what does Impact have? And then I looked, they got a lot of talent on that roster. Sure. They've got a ton. I've talked about it before, but LAX, Moose, and a lot of the women in their division, Sami Callihan, you want to talk about needing heels? He is as heel as it gets right now. Right. And they've got a lot of talent. They probably have some assets in a tape library, of course. And, man.
It's going to be a hard year for them.
Yeah, they don't have IP, though. They don't have any intellectual property because they gave all that up. So, as Matt Hardy showed off this week on Twitter. But
I mean, they still have their tape library. You know.
Yeah, that is a nice tape library, too. Yeah. They got some good stuff, and a lot of people have been in and out of that company.
Mm-hmm. That's all I got for you, man.
Yep. Guys, FightfulSelect.com. If you want to support Fightful in the most direct way, we have tons of shows. Over 200 podcasts up in our archives. Retro Review, Royal Rumble 1988 is up right now. We have the 205 Live NXT review. The NXT UK review is up. I don't know if that will continue, but Warren Hayes and Kristen Ashley will be doing a review podcast of that on Saturday on the free site. But also this week, my Q&A podcast is up. When you subscribe, you can ask unlimited questions. And I have the Fightful Report podcast, which anchors the service. Exclusive news, contract updates, injury news. Then on the weekends, we have our non-WWE podcast as well, The Weekender. Check it out. There is something for everybody there. Right after this, myself and Jimmy Van are doing Stupid People Extended. Lots of neat stuff, lots of early access, lots of news. I posted the tag match that was happening on SmackDown on the site earlier as well. Go over there, check it out. And if you're on this video, leave us a thumbs up. Support us. We're out. Subscribe to Fightful on YouTube for the latest exclusive podcasts, interviews, and news across boxing, MMA, and pro wrestling.